Hi, Jonathan Royal. It's nice of you to share some of your time with me. And you're it seems like Brian Streckner really is admires you quite a bit here in Chico.
Well, it's nice that he does. I mean, there's lots of people around the world that have studied my correspondence courses or done online training. And it's nice that then people actually go out there and do something with it, which Brian obviously is doing.
Yeah,
And it's great to get the feedback from people like Brian, who are then helping people on a daily basis to change their lives and cure phobias, overcome addictions, and all manner of stuff. So, it's really rewarding in that sense.
yeah, and it's good to see him do that here in this community too. Because to be honest with you, most of what I see that's wrong, even in the world, is all in our heads.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. There's lots of statistics thrown around by people, and there's that old saying that statistics you can make up any you want. But I think one that's fairly true is that 90% apparently of reported illnesses to doctors have at their root a psychosomatic cause, so psychological cause or stress related cause, and that probably an even larger percentage of the unreported illnesses are psychologically caused or made worse through negative thinking
Right.
and stuff. And it's beautiful that we do have. It's unfortunate that most people don't understand how to sort of reprogram their personal neck-top computers, as I like to call it, our brains, which I don't think any person on this planet fully comprehends or understands the potential of the human brain. You've only got to these days look at things like YouTube to find videos of people around the world who achieve the most extraordinary things that if you were just told about them and didn't see it with your own eyes, you wouldn't believe would be possible.
Right.
And yet these people have focused on it and believed in it and programmed themselves almost, and they made it possible because they weren't prepared to believe it wasn't possible. Rather like Roger Bannister, who was the first guy to run the, what was it, 4 minute or 3 minute mile.
4 minute mile.
Yeah, everyone said it couldn't be done, but within days of him doing it, these athletes who said it couldn't be done suddenly believed it was possible, and they did it as well, and then loads of other people did. So, unfortunately, a lot of people settle for the fact of if they've not seen somebody else do it, then it must be impossible. But fortunately, there are a small, well, actually, an ever increasing number these days, I think, because people are becoming more aware of the possibilities, not just of hypnosis and NLP, which obviously is my area, but of other things such as energy therapies and there's so many. There's crystal healing. There's so many ways to get yourself psychologically balanced and focused. And I think people are starting to realise that they need to do something for themselves. You can't just rely on other people to sort your problems out for you. And even if you do rely on, say, a doctor, and you're lucky enough perhaps for them to recognise that it's psychologically caused your issue or it's stress related, so they may refer you to a counsellor. But then you get caught into that trap of going week after week and going over old ground and bringing it up again. And yeah, eventually some people get a resolution, a conclusion or a change. But rather than have to relive the stuff that's caused you the stress in the first place, it's my belief and experience that it's far better for somebody to be able to sort of overwrite the files in the computer. It's not that they forget those things happened, because that'd be wrong, because it'd be forgetting a part of their life. Everything that happens to us is a part of what we become and who we are. But overriding those negative files that perhaps have caused them a phobia, to be scared of something, or the negative stress files that have caused them to become addicted to either narcotics or alcohol or smoking. If you can override the thing that caused the stress that started it off and therefore made the habit occur, so that it's no longer pleasurable and there's no benefit from that, either physically or psychologically, then suddenly the person finds they don't need it anymore and they've got no craving for it. Or in the case of a phobia, they find that once bothered them no longer concerns them the way it did, and they can move forward with their life. And often a little thing that some people might think is daft, a daft phobia perhaps of flying, can make the world of difference to somebody, because they may have had career prospects closed off to them, do overseas meetings and stuff, and suddenly with that fear gone, their entire life can have a knock-on effect, and they can be going on holiday with their family and friends to places they didn't dream of before. They can accept a job that means overseas travel, and one little thing is like taking the supporting brick out of the wall, and then all the negativity crumbles down. And that's kind of what I believe using all these techniques can do, which is why I spent sort of the past 20 years developing what I call complete mind therapy, which in a nutshell is what I found to be the best bits of hypnotherapy, the best bits of neurolinguistic programming, the best bits of counseling, the best bits of positive affirmations and creative visualization. There's even bits of yoga and meditation in there. It's taking all the bits that I found consistently worked, putting them all together so that you've got so many potentially potent pieces in there that some of them have got to be relevant to the individual who comes to you for treatment. And generally speaking, it will be several of them that are, so that they're actually therefore getting more than just one treatment approach at once. And that's how, as Brian does and as many of my thousands of students around the world do, people can end up curing. We're not really allowed to use that word from an advertising point of view, so I'll change it to eliminating the issues that people once had within a single 60-minute treatment session. Whereas there's some, mind therapists out there, even hypnotherapists, that for smoking, for example, say you need 3 sessions, come back. Admittedly, those sessions may only be 30, 40 minutes each. But I say no, spend the full hour, cover everything, and let that person walk out of the office changed there and then. It's better for them.
Yeah, and what I like about what you're doing and people like Brian is the fact that you're part of a movement on the planet, actually, that's starting to empower people with their own powers to heal. And I think this is the breaking away of the old patriarch organized systems that made us so dependent. Everything from psychoanalysis to government subsidies to you name it. We have had a planet that has fed on making people dependent on them, welfare systems and everything else. Yeah. And now it seems like if you're part of this movement of waking up, we're talking on a spiritual conscious level. Mm-hmm. You seem to like automatically tune in to anything that is self-empowering and making us realize our own full potential that's not dependent on organizations or people or systems or anything. And that's what I really like about, I used self-hypnosis when I was going to college to help my studying techniques and things. And I even took a class. I'm actually a clinical hypnotherapist, but I stopped.
All right, cool.
Yeah, but I stopped using the initials behind my name after I met people like Brian, for instance, and people that are actually doing this professionally. There's so many people out there that say they can hypnotize, and I can, but it's not, It's one thing to be a professional at this and really know what you're doing, and that's the importance of conversations like this and getting the word out and really training people to where they bring them up to a level of efficiency.
come along in October. It sounds somewhat slightly unbelievable. I don't claim, what I promise and guarantee, as in a full money back guarantee, that I will teach people, is that within the space of 2 days, and there's courses out there that say you've got to go on this for a weekend every month for a year. And they charge thousands and thousands of dollars. And they say at the end of it, then you'll be a qualified hypnotherapist or a mind coach or whatever fancy title they give it. And then at the end of it, you have to pay a yearly membership fee to be a member of their group, society, and keep doing courses each year and stuff. I don't believe in any of that. What I do is, I do get a large number of people who are already involved in treating people come along who've done previous courses, and that's fine, that's great. Existing therapists are welcome. But even the complete novice with no background, no training, perhaps they've even got a head start because they've not got preconceived ideas inside their head.
Right.
They come along on day one. Well, it's a 3-day event we're going to do in America, and I'm going to put in their marketing as well.
This is the October 19th thing in Sacramento?
You know what? You said 19th, and my memory's so bad, I'm actually going to have to look in my diary. How sad's that? Yeah, Friday the 19th, Saturday the 20th, and Sunday the 21st of October. I'm going to be in Sacramento at the
Marriott, I think.
Marriott Hotel near the airport. Details of that are actually on the website, sacramentohypnosistraining.com. But the people are going to show up on day one. By the end of day 3, they will never need to spend another penny ever again on any training. Because the best training they will ever get at the end of that 3 days is going out there and actually helping people and helping themselves. They'll learn more from doing that. Not just from the benefits they'll receive, but also through doing it for real. It's far better than reading any textbook or doing any course, as long as you've got the foundations there.
You know, this is important in a lot of different ways. I want to take this off into a slightly different direction, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
One of your neighbors there, David Icke, we talked about the fact that politicians and people that tend to work their way up to control levels, they know all about neurolinguistic programming and the usage of words. And the best way to combat that is to become familiar with what that system is about. And I know for myself, just by a little bit of education in NLP, hypnosis, I can see the underlying intent that is put out by world governments. Even on the level, it's like they all get a memo to use certain buzzwords, certain phrases, and in one day, all over the planet from several different countries, all the politicians will use these phrase words and buzzwords and just pump them out. And I can see it affecting people. And the only way you can combat that, I think, is through education and being a little more conscious and aware of what's coming at you, because it's coming at us big time.
I totally agree. And, although this course is on the one level being marketed as, if you're already a therapist, this will make you more efficient and help you make more money. If you're not a therapist, it will teach you how to help other people and help yourself. But you've hit the nail on the head. The techniques that will be taught during the 3 days that are used to help people overcome phobias, that are used to eliminate addictions, are the exact same psychological techniques that politicians and salespeople and other people in positions of power use to manipulate us generally. And when you are aware of them, and especially when you're actively using them yourselves with positive intent to help other people and help yourself, it does switch you on. You're quite right, definitely. And it becomes blatantly obvious to you what they're doing. And also, because you're aware of it, you stop being controlled. It's like David Icke says, the truth does set you free.
Yep. Yeah, and what normally used to put me to sleep now wakes me up and almost makes me laugh. You know,
Brilliant.
it becomes a little bit. If it wasn't so serious, it would be a laughing matter. But the very system that they are using, with the knowledge of what they're doing, it has a reverse effect. It starts waking you up because of the absurdity.
Could you start to see it going on more and more in every area of life? You know, the whole of society in many ways was for so many years prior to the internet. I think, you know, the internet, television started it a bit, although television was also a tool used to brainwash, as the media is. But the internet, they've not been able to control it in the way they wanted to, so people can set up their blogs, they can talk on Skype like we're doing now, they can share information from the other side of the world far quicker than has ever been possible before. So it's becoming increasingly, that brick wall is starting to break down brick by brick, and the more people that learn these techniques and go out there and then share them through helping other people. And with CMT, complete mind therapy, a lot of therapists have this approach where somebody comes to them, let's say, to stop smoking. They'll stop them smoking, and later on in life, that client who was happy stopping smoking with that therapist may go back and go, I've got a stress issue, and spend money again. Now, I personally don't believe in that. You can make more than enough money if you want to run it as a business as a therapist by getting a reputation for changing people's lives in one session and setting them free. And the process of CMT not only eliminates their phobia or their addiction or whatever, but it also then gives them the tools and the techniques to use themselves in the future. So if they do find an issue in the future they want to deal with, they don't have to go back to a therapist and spend money. They can run through that process they've been taught on themselves and get that instant change. So they've got that freedom, that tool within them, because it is a case of once you know the truth of how these things work, you can do it for yourself. It's just that you do need showing the first time, a guiding hand.
Okay, now that we've exposed the government and the politicians, let's take a look at the pharmaceutical company, because I'm particularly interested in your, I can't pronounce it, the Nois therapy or...
Noisy therapy. It's not actually my idea. It's a gentleman in Spain called Dr. Angel Escudero. He's a Spanish surgeon, proper medical surgeon that's licensed to cut people open and do operations. But he does all these without any anaesthetic and without any chemical painkillers. And there's lots of videos people can find on YouTube of him if you search Dr. Angel Escudero, No Easy Therapy. And the people are wide awake, eyes open, talking to him, laughing as he's chiseling bone out of the knee or the leg. And so we know, and they're just laughing. They're feeling no discomfort whatsoever. And it's a very simple technique. Now, I'll share it with you and teach you now, but I mean, this will be a very short lesson that you normally would take up maybe an hour or more of a training weekend. But we are brainwashed and conditioned. By the way, we're brought up, but we also have genetic conditioning as human beings. So we naturally end up, because of the way our body is, we need water or drink of some point and food at some point, otherwise we start malfunctioning. Now, we have within us from caveman days, there's a lot more to it than this. I'm really doing an oversimplified explanation, but from caveman days, we've got within us the fight, flight, or freeze response, which was when we had a choice as the male hunter-gatherer. And this is sexist, I know, but that's how it was back then. The hunter-gatherer would go out, get confronted by a dinosaur, and they either run like the clappers, flight, freeze, and get killed by the dinosaur, or fight, kill dinosaur and take home some food that evening. So that causes chemical releases in the body, huge releases of endorphins and serotonin and adrenaline and all this. It's like, oh, so you're getting ready to either fight or run away, so you've got extra energy to run away, or you get a brain freeze and you're suddenly stuck in that position. That's still within us. And unfortunately, what also happens is when the fight or flight thing kicks in, we tend to end up with a very dry mouth. It's like your mouth goes dry when there's fear. There's an old saying. That's a physiological anchor that's already conditioned within us. And that's the same when we're in pain. When we tend to have a dry mouth. People who suffer a lot of pain tend to find that it gets dissipated automatically to a little bit of a degree by drinking more water. And that's not just through flushing out the toxins in the body, the natural benefits of drinking more water. It's because you're tricking your mind and body into the idea that you've got this wet mouth, which is the opposite of the fight, flight, or freeze stress response. It's relaxed. And relaxed, if you're relaxed, you can't really be in pain. That's the message you're sending. So it will dissipate it a bit, but probably not as much as people would want. But when you're out and about, you may not always want to drink, so you have access to one. But what you have got is saliva. You can create saliva. Now, when your mouth's dry, you're in pain or feeling discomfort, all you need to kind of think of doing is imagine a juicy, bitter, sour lemon being cut in half and then somebody sucking on that lemon. And as you imagine that mental picture, it starts to...
It's working right now.
It brings saliva into your mouth, doesn't it?
Yep.
Now, with no easy therapy, the idea is the moment that you made that visualization and get the saliva on your tongue, you actually say to yourself out loud, so it's ideal to do this when there's no one else around, because it looks a bit weird talking with saliva on the tip of your tongue and you sound funny. So I'll do it without saliva, but imagine I had saliva there and I had a pain in my right arm. I'd get the saliva on the tip of my tongue and I'd say out loud, whilst also thinking it in my head, I'd say, my right arm is now completely anaesthetized. My right arm is now completely anaesthetized. My right arm is now completely anaesthetized. That's what Dr. Angel Escudero would get them to do an operation. And you've got the verbal and the thinking message together with the saliva. It anchors it all together, and that overrules the file in your mind and body that says pain signal, pain signal.
Yep.
But if you've got pain, you don't want to use the word anaesthetized because that could be dangerous if you're in the kitchen.
Right.
So you just want to eliminate the pain to a level where you've still got sensation in your arm. So it would be, I no longer feel any discomfort in my right arm. And the word discomfort itself is a positive suggestion that it's not as bad as the word pain. So I feel no discomfort in my right arm. I feel no discomfort in my right arm. I feel no discomfort in my right arm. At which point then I just close my eyes for a few seconds, swallow the saliva, open my eyes, and people find it's not like a miracle cure, it's gone. The more you do this and condition yourself, the better it becomes. But they can at the very least get an equal level of pain relief and comfort as taking a drugstore bought chemical placebo, which is what 99% of them are, nothing more than a placebo with a bit of a chemical thrown in so they can put a copyright on it, a patent, and charge money. There is, it's been proven, the majority of drugs, the only real benefit is the fact that you believe there is a benefit. Well, guess what? You can believe in yourself and get just the same, if not even better, results because you will trigger off the natural painkillers that are within the human body, dopamine and such like.
Yeah, even the Food and Drug Administration, by their own admission, say that 80% of the effects of a good portion of their drugs is a placebo effect. Mm-hmm. And if you add that to the consequences of taking some of these drugs, it's really debatable whether you should even take them or not. Something interesting that happened to me once is I was over the stove, I was cooking something, but I took the pan off and the red burners was there, the hot, really hot burners, and I was making a drink, so without thinking and without looking, I reached over to grab an ice cube, but in my mind, I thought that I hit the burner when I grabbed the ice cube, and I dropped it, and I actually had a blister on my finger, like I would have touched the burner.
Yeah. It works both exactly. It works both directions. If your mind believes that was red hot what you touched, you will get the blister. In the same way, if you believe, you don't have to fully believe with the saliva thing. You will still get a level of comfort control to some level, and the more you do it, the better that will become. Just because of the physiological fact of what you're doing is reversing what normally happens. But if you focus on it and believe, and perhaps 3 times in the morning when you get up, and then 3 times at night time just before you go to sleep, when we're most suggestible anyway, say to yourself, well, in the morning it'd be with your eyes closed, today, if I should feel any discomfort, never pain, because that's a negative word, if I should feel any discomfort, I will merely need a glass of water for it to disappear. And you say that 3 times to yourself. And the same at night. And after a few days, you'll find if you were to feel discomfort, your mind will start to program your body that you can just get a small glass of water, neck it in one, and your brain will react as though you've taken some kind of fantastically strong, liquid, chemical painkiller that will perhaps only be given in hospitals in extreme circumstances. And that's because it's the same thing. It's that 80% placebo that will trigger off the release of dopamine, the body's natural painkiller. We can do it ourselves.
So do you think, the things like you're talking about, do you think they work better if a person can start working on deeper levels, even through meditation, to dissipate feelings of not only negativity, but unworthiness, guilt, and things like that? Because I know I've known a lot of people that use affirmations, but they simply don't work. Because I think that they feel unworthy or guilty or even afraid of gaining access to money or power or anything. Just a second. Let me unplug this.
No problem. Okay.
Okay. I'll edit that out.
It's all right. There are 7 main human needs, and these are not the ones necessarily talked about in books like food and water. I'm on about deeper than that. And that is that we need to, whether we admit it consciously or not, for sort of optimum health, psychologically and physically, we need to feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished and valued. Because all those together then give someone a total feeling of self-worth and being worth money, being worth happiness, being worth love, being worth good health. And that's what the focus of complete mind therapy is. So to answer the question, affirmations generally don't work for the majority of people because they have an imbalance somewhere. They don't love themselves enough, or they don't feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished or valued. So what is ideal is to go to someone like Brian, or come along to an event such as that happening in October, and actually experience someone using the techniques on them, so helping them to relax and be hypnotized to a level to instill into them a belief, and also remove any blockages. So at the end of that session, they do feel at an unconscious level. It's not what you feel here, it's what you feel deep down. So that they do feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished and valued. So most importantly, worthwhile. So that then when they use the techniques and tools themselves in everyday life, so they don't have to go back to a therapist, they will then actually work, rather than it being almost reflected off with this shield of, oh, I'm not worth that. It won't work for me. Why should I be helped? Mentality. That will have been removed. So yeah, ideally, it is best to have somebody go in there, and I'll use the computer analogy again. Go in there and replace the hard drive for one that's positive and feels worthwhile, so that then you can go home and easily program it whenever you want to.
Yeah, since we spend most of our lives being indoctrinated by patriarch kinds of organizations, educational systems, and all that. I was talking to Bruce Lipton, and he was explaining to me, he's a microbiologist, and he was explaining to me that within a single lifetime, we do reprogram our genetic material. And geneticists used to think that it would take at least one generation, if not more, to change your genes. But now we know that we reprogram them because of the new information they're coming up with, that our cells are in touch with the environment and our cells are feeding in information to our genetic material. It's not the opposite. It's more nurturing than nature that determines who we can become. Nature maybe determines how we're born, who we are at that moment, but nurturing really determines who we can become and what we can do with our lives.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. There's so many examples in the world of the person born into a family with absolutely nothing, penniless, no particular education, nothing going for them whatsoever. But they had a dream, they focused on it, and they're now multi-millionaires. And transforming lives. And then there's other people born with everything, the perfect education, apparently the perfect family, but they didn't get told by their parents enough that they were worthwhile, that
right,
they didn't feel a sense of love or feel a sense of self-worth, and they've ended up being penniless and unemployed. It can just be that feeling of self-worth that can transform your life in so many ways. So, definitely, it's not just a case of these techniques can be used to run a business helping other people. And that sounds a bit like, oh, it shouldn't be about money. If you're going to spend, such as Brian does, your full-time waking hours helping other individuals, you've still got to eat and have a roof over your head like everybody else. So obviously you do need to know how to run a business. That's why we cover it on the course. If it's something you're going to learn just for your own personal empowerment, then that's great too. But also you'll probably find, as I found a lot of my past students have, that once they've used the techniques themselves and find that they do work, once they've gone through that initial process of me helping them eliminate the negativity that stopped them working for them before, that then they want to go and help their family and loved ones. So it may not be about a business, it may just be about helping their family and loved ones go through that initial process, to have the right state of mind to be able to then pass the tools on for them to help themselves. So it can have, and the more people that do this, Rome wasn't built in a day, to use the old cliche, but the more people that do this, the more that people will wake up, as you said earlier on, and the more that they won't take the apparent truth of what's in the newspapers and in the media so easily. They'll question it and see the real truth and motivation underneath. So it'll not just be benefiting in their own lives and in their own physical and mental health, but also in their interactions with other human beings. And over time, I do believe, and it will take a lot of time, it's not going to be a matter of weeks or months, we're talking years here, perhaps even generations. As this is passed on and becomes more acceptable and normal for people to help each other, because to some people the idea of that's really strange, and the reason for that is because internally their reaction is, what does this person want? I'm not worthy of this. Or whereas if everyone got rid of those blocks, it'd be like, it'd go back to helping each other. And that might then, who knows, down the line, get rid of the monetary system and go back to the world of bartering, where we exchange services with each other. And everyone then was capable of living a rich, happy life because they just traded services around the barter system, so they could all have an equal level of housing, food, transport, and what have you. So there is mass potential here.
Yeah, I think we should consciously and deliberately dismantle our financial system, because if we don't, it's going to get rid of us, because it completely feeds off the planet as if it has infinite resources. And this is part of this old way of thinking, this old mentality that we use each other, we use the planet, and it's based upon our own personal insecurity and feelings of lack. So we try to manipulate and control others through fear, through making them feel not worthy. And the more that we can start waking people up to these social games we play, I think the more we're going to have a ripple effect, even on people that's not even thinking about this, because they're going to see that some of the old systems aren't working financially, monetarily, personally, emotionally, and they're going to start tuning into this, if nothing else, for financial reasons or for personal gain, only to find out at some point that they're involved in a new system that gives them value and worth.
I totally agree. And I mean, money itself, what is it? It's a promise. It's a promise. It's a belief system. That's all it is. It's a belief system. There isn't enough gold to cover the money that's in circulation. So it's a false belief anyway, which people are starting to wake up to now, I think, with all the different recessions and economic collapses in places like Greece and worldwide and what have you. But you don't need much, how can I put it? An example of myself. Years ago, somebody said to me, these tools, they work, you've proven they work, you prove they work on the training weekends, and you offer people a money back guarantee. So why don't you charge more? Because no one's got any particular risk, and the worth of it to them is massive. And I said, well, why not? Because what pissed me off, sorry for that particular word then, but it did piss me off, so I'm sorry, there's no other word for it.
It gets the point across.
Yeah, when I was a lot younger, 20 odd years ago, and I was studying this stuff, I spent thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars buying books, videotapes, then going on live courses. And I realised that there was something missing each time. And it was years down the line when I realised that all these people wanted you to go back on courses again and again. They wanted you to get addicted to buying books and the tapes. They wanted you to go on the next level of course, because to them it was a massive industry. And then I realised, whoa, that isn't somebody who wants to help somebody. And suddenly I realised, therefore, why should I believe that will help? So I sat back and I looked and I thought, well, there's got to be something worthwhile in here for them to have had success stories that generate people going back on events. And it was then a quest to study and find the bits that work from everything, put them all together, which is what I made and called complete mind therapy. So I can take somebody who knows nothing and 3 days later go, there you go, you were free. You can help yourself, you can help other people, whether it's a business or for personal satisfaction. And I do that as cheaply as feasible. I mean, literally in October, it's just a case of covering my flights to America, covering the venue, covering the snacks, covering all the materials and training backup materials that everyone gets. And I might make a couple of $1,000 for the week of my time it will take to come from England, do the training and come back. It's not, I could be charging a lot more. What I will get the benefit from, and here's where society is generally going, is when I started doing the courses over here in England and Europe and charging way less than all the other trainers and started getting positive feedback, well, that made them angry because it was breaking down the number of people going on their courses, obviously.
Right.
But also the people who've been on my courses remembered, because a lot of them have been on courses before and they were still searching for that answer, that key. And they found it coming on the course, and they found the key was not to keep going on courses, to use this stuff, actually get out there, do it and help people and learn through doing it. And by setting them free that way, I benefited more than money through satisfaction, but also it's bizarre synchronicity. But when my car broke down, I went to a local garage that I'd not been to before, mind, and I've got a personalised plate that says HIPNO. It looks like hypno. And the person at the garage turned around and said, "Hypno, are you a hypnotist?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "Oh, my uncle over in Italy, who lives over there, is a hypnotist as well." I said, "Oh, who trained him?" Because my birth name is Alex Smith, and that's what's on all my legal documents. But my stage name and training seminar name is Jonathon Royal. It's a bit more upbeat. And he said, "Jonathon Royal," which he didn't realise was me because it's Alex Smith on the document. I was like, wow. It turned out this, and I got a massive discount on getting my car done. I've had all manner of things that you'd say were coincidence happen like that, and I've found and come to believe that the more you give out, the more you naturally end up attracting positivity. I know it's the old thing of karma, law of cause and effect, but I think it's even bigger than that. Is that when you go out there and just start giving with positive intent to also set other people free, that you just attract like-minded people. It's like you become a magnet and it just starts happening.
Yeah, and it's funny you should mention this too, because even large corporations are starting to tune in to this different way of doing business, of treating their employees better, for instance, and getting it to the point where the employees actually want to come to work, instead of like it's a job or something. And there's actually been a couple of great turnarounds. Google is a pretty good example. The way they treat their employees, all the benefits and everything. People like to go to work for Google. And it's because of the environment and how they're treated and respected and, revered for what they can do.
Because then it becomes about working with somebody,
right,
together on a mutual aim, rather than I've got to go and do this because I need the money to pay for the food and the bills. So it's about focus and intent.
So what would you like to leave our listeners with? Any last words?
Yeah, obviously at the end I'll mention the website to go and have a look at, but what I will cover on that weekend is, as I say, can be used as a business, obviously, to earn money from, whether that be doing stage performances of hypnosis to entertain and spread the message, which then ultimately leads to people wanting treatment, or whether you're an existing therapist. And you don't have to be a hypnotherapist to benefit from this. I've taught the complete mind therapy skills to a lot of masseurs, who then use them while they're giving people massages. And suddenly they found that they've got, these people have benefited so much from their massage. They've been able to up their fees. They've also ended up with more clients because the word of mouth is, well, it's not just a massage. I came out of there with a more positive intent on life as well. So, if you're into any form of fortune telling and intuition, these techniques can be helpful because you will come across people who are going to encounter negative moments in their life, and you can give them the tools to be strong and overcome those things. The key to it all is to believe in yourself. The trouble is, it's not that simple to believe in yourself. You need sometimes someone to come along, because there's been so many people throughout your life bombarding you with negativity, whether that's the media, the television, bullies at school, bullies in the workplace, so many different areas of life, brainwashing negativity in, that you do really need a moment, a time for yourself to decide that's where things get better. And a sort of 3-day event like the one we're doing will not just teach you skills for a job, but will enable you to focus on yourself for 3 days, eliminate all those blocks in your mind and body, so that you can leave feeling loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished and valued. So you can increase that sense of self-worth and belief within you, so that you can focus on whatever you want to in life, and then suddenly find that things you thought would have been difficult to achieve suddenly become ridiculously easy, because no longer are those mental roadblocks there. And there's way more insight into that and what we'll be covering at the website, which is Sacramento Hypnosis training.com. Some of you there in October, and it'd be great to see you there too, sir.
Well, I'll try to make it, and we'll definitely help you get the word out here.
Thank you very much. That'd be greatly, greatly appreciated.
All right, Jonathan. It's really a pleasure talking with you.
You too, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. You have a good day. Or a good evening.
You too, sir.
I guess it's a good
evening.
evening.
It's evening. 4 to 10 at night here. Yeah. You have a good rest of the day, Law, sir.
All right. You take care.
Take care.